Welcome to the Leading Second podcast, a space to help church leaders thrive in the second chair. The Leading Second podcast releases every Thursday morning, so hit subscribe and share this episode with your team. Let's jump into another episode for all of us who lead from the middle.
Hello, Leading Second. Welcome back to Season 8 of the Leading Second podcast. My name is Brandon Stewart, and it is our honor to welcome you to this space today. If you lead from the middle in any capacity, Leading Second is for you. So welcome home, welcome to this tribe, and we are here today to talk about the wiring of your team, knowing the wiring of your team. We have a great conversation on tap that I'm excited for you to listen. Before we get into that, though, I want to mention that coaching group applications are now open for our fall intake for Leading Second coaching groups. This is a program we are so proud of, and it would be our honor to walk with you in ministry. If you are an executive leader or you lead on your church's leadership team, I want to invite you to apply to be a part of our 1-year coaching cohort program. Myself and our team of coaches, we lead, I think, a really strong and great program to help you level up your leadership. So head to leadingsecond.com or head to our Instagram. There's more information there, but we would love to have you in this fall's intake of Leading Second's coaching groups. And of course, today's episode, as all episodes are this year, is powered by Pulpit AI. If you find value in this conversation, I want to encourage you to head to leadingsecond.com/podcast and check out the discussion guide that you can use with your team from today's episode. All right, we have Alan Pastian on the podcast today from River Valley Church, a brilliant multi-site church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I love very, very much. Alan is a seasoned and rich second chair leader. You're going to enjoy this conversation today. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Alan Pastian on knowing your team's wiring. All right, well, I am here today with my new friend, Alan Pastian from River Valley Church. Say what's up to everybody. Alan, welcome.
Hey, come on. Good to be here. Love being on Leading Second podcast. Thanks, Brandon, for connecting me. You and I mean, we get connected here. We have some past friends and some past history through their friendships. This is awesome. I love being here. It's a great honor.
This is probably long overdue. We have a number of connections we won't get into now. It's the thread that just needed to get connected. But I just have to say, first of all, I absolutely love and respect your church and your pastors, River Valley Church. You don't know, I talk about your church all the time. I think it's one of the great models in a number of arenas in America. So I just thank you guys for what you're building. I have family there. My in-laws are a part of your church, even your location. And so I'm thankful for you. Let's start by just telling us a little bit more about you and how long you've been at RVC.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going on. You talk about Leading Second. This is my I'm coming up on my 28th year full-time Leading Second in ministry, which is wild. I've never had a chair in that sense. So when I've been following Leading Second podcast for a while, love it. And so for me, it started as a youth pastor way back. I got saved out of party life living when I was at college getting my business degree, and I was going to go into PR and advertising and just this whole big thing and go into business. And God got a hold of me. And it was there that I got thrust into my first youth ministry career and started in youth ministry, and then got hired on at River Valley as a youth pastor. And I've been here coming up, it'll be in my 19th year at River Valley. And I realized when I turn 60, it'll be 25 years, a quarter of a century at one church. So I'm really... Come on. And so I've been moving around River Valley. You know, when you're at a church, you've been here almost 19 years. You know it. I know when it first started, when it was like 500 plus people. Now we're 14 locations. And I have been the guy that's kind of moved around, try to fix things and lead and navigate from there. So That's been the journey at River Valley. It's totally blessed and anointed by God. Praise God, as all churches are. But it's just been fun to close and see this particular expression of the kingdom really flourish, which is awesome.
I love it. I love it. I like to say, I've lifetime at my church. I like to say I've done everything but women's ministry. But even then, I feel like I've built like the volunteer teams for the women's conference. So I feel like I've even done that a little bit. So, you end up doing a little bit of everything. A lifetime at one church. We honor you today, and we're so glad you're here. And I got Dillon Ritchie back with us to help me pull some gold out of Alan. Say what's up to everybody, Mr. Ritchie.
What's going on, everybody? So me and Alan have the complete opposite resumes, other than being out of the party lifestyle. So, but I honor you for your faithfulness. That's incredible. I'm excited to learn from you today.
I wonder how many locations Pastor Alan had helped start by the time you got saved, Dillon. It would probably be quite a few.
It probably is.
I love it. Good. I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to have a fun conversation today, and I would love if you would first of all share with us, Alan, about your passion for helping leaders move forward and discover their wiring. I think that's a passion of yours. Start by giving us the why. Why are you passionate about that with second chair leaders?
Yeah, for sure. The hardest person to lead is yourself. And when we can begin to understand and saying like, okay, before I can lead others well, I've got to lead myself well. So how can I lead myself well? Because when I show up at the leaders table and the first chair's there and the rest of us are around the table, I want to sit at that table and be confident. I want to be courageous. I want to lead with clarity. I want to have all those things that are there. And I don't want to show up insecure. I don't want to show up like as someone else, which is always the thing. Oh, I need to be this person at the table so I can get noticed here, or so that they can see me as seeing my words as important, or all the things, the insecurities that come with that. And so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to deep dive on myself. And I realized that when we don't know ourselves well, our wheels can start spinning. We can get stuck in what somebody said about us, what was spoken over us, an offense or a word or something like that. And I said, no, not on my watch. We're called to move forward. And so for me, I wanted to figure out the best way to move forward is to say, what is my leadership engine? So that my leadership engine that I have, because we're all unique. Everybody's wired unique. No two people are the same. Even if you look at some of the strength finders and some of these different tools that they give, no two people are wired the same. I mean, it's like the top 5 strengths in a strength finders, like 1 in 25 million have just the top 5, which is wild. So it's just interesting to see in that exact order. So there's different things like that are interesting when you kind of do the research. So I said, how can I figure out who I am so that I can show up as the best expression of myself when I'm my truest expression at the leadership table? And then that means God is going to reflect himself through me, the purest, because I'm truly myself. I'm truly the way he made me to be. So I did a deep dive on myself and said, what's my wiring? What are my pushable buttons? What is my fuel? And I just began to investigate that. And I took some leadership tests and I took some different tools. There's a lot of tests and tools out there to help you discover who you are and how I'm wired. And it was from there that really helped me say, I want to help other people do that. So one of my biggest passions is, what's your leadership engine? Let's look under the hood. Let's hoist it up, put the thing up, rest the hood on it, and let's just lean in and say, who are you? How are you wired? What is from values to motives, to passions, to talents, to strengths, to geniuses, to all those things. You are the sum total of all those things. And so let's figure out what.
My pastor's been using a quote. I'll be honest, I don't know if it's an actual quote or a joke, but he's been using this quote in some of our leadership gatherings this spring, saying 90% of people think they're self-aware and only 10% are. I don't know if it's a joke or if it's an actual statistic, but I think the point stands that I think a lot of people probably think they know, and I'm guessing very few people really have a handle on their leadership engine. Would you agree with that assessment?
Oh, yeah, because a lot of people will. I agree with that because they're gonna act out. There's the person you think, the person you should be, the person you want to be, the person they want you to be, the person you think
Right.
you need to be, and then there's truly the person you are supposed to be that the Lord has made you to be. So it's all those other versions come in cloudy, and that's why emotional intelligence is the name of the game, what your pastor's referring to, the EQ, of how am I showing up in the room, and like, oh, is this me? Is this right? Am I good? Am I over? Oh, I thought I delivered a great thought there. I just overspoke. Well, that's great, or whatever it is. So you face those battles all the time.
Are you ready to level up your leadership? Leading Second coaching groups are a 12-month journey designed just for second chair leaders who are ready to grow deeper, lead stronger, and stay planted in the calling God's placed on their life. Through monthly coaching calls, in-person experiences like the Leading Second Summit and our Leadership Practicum, and deep connection with other leaders across the country, you won't just grow, you'll build lasting momentum in your calling. You'll get equipped, challenged, and encouraged, and you'll walk away with the tools and the friendships that will impact your leadership for years to come. Spots are limited, so head to leadingsecond.com/coaching-groups and apply today before they're gone.
You were about to allude to it, and I'd love for you to go back to it because I think you were going to go there, and I think it's important that you do go there. Talk to us about the risks or the dangers that pose or that show up when we aren't self-aware, when we show up in rooms where we're having conversations with the first chair or just leaders in general, and we're not self-aware. Talk to us about some of the risks or dangers that are.
Yeah, I think there's a quote that I always live by. It's, you can choose to be valuable. You can choose today to be valuable. You can choose today to be important. And I would reverse that. You can choose today to be important, or you can choose to be valuable. And I want to be valuable, so I want to add value. And so the opposite of not adding value is coming in and just bringing nonsense and bring in the silliness and bring in some of those things. And so some of the risks when you show up when you are leading yourself is, when you talk about those risks, you're saying, okay, well, I'm showing up and we have a team meeting. I have a team of 12. And when I am not secure or self-aware in who I am, then I start allowing what the opinions of others said, or what happened in the weekend, or what I think they're thinking about me. And then I start responding in such a way where I am now acting out of fear. I'm acting out of the place of where I've lost my confidence. So now I'm acting out of title. And I'm just kind of responding out of that way. I'm responding out of if I'm lacking courage, then all of a sudden I'm in a lot of indecision and I'm kind of fluttering. And so I see myself in that space of where all those things, when my team is looking at me, when my church is looking at me at my campus, and all these different things, I realize then that I'm going to start then making decisions that are going to not align with either the vision of what God has put on our church, or I'm going to start making decisions based upon all those things that I'm freaking out about. And next thing you know, I'm cleaning up messes like 2 weeks later, or I find myself saying things I didn't mean to say. And so all of a sudden, I'm throwing sideways energy at things that I didn't have to throw sideways energy at. So, and sideways energy is the worst kind of thing, because I need to be focused on, we're called to build the kingdom of God. We're called to invest. We're called to, and I'm just like, God, I want to do that. But now I'm over here fixing all the stuff that didn't need to be fixed.
Yeah. Let's sit here and talk about you for a minute, and then we're going to move on to equipping your team, because I think there's a worthy conversation about, and I think you've had some success in equipping your team. So let's get there in just a minute. But staying on the subject with you, what would be the number one or two most helpful tools or insights that you have learned and adopted over the years that have really helped you know you? Like, is there a specific test? Is there a specific thing? Like, what are one or two things that you grab onto the most consistently when it comes to Alan knowing Alan?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, obviously it starts with a frame of mind to where, it goes without saying that if you're not getting up every single day and spending quality time with God and letting God speak his word into you and over you, then you already know you're already missing it. And so if I'm not putting that discipline, you are the sum total of your disciplines. So if you've
That's
got
right.
a healthy mind and spirit, that's because you're spending time with God, renewing your mind and getting your spirit aligned with the Spirit of the Lord. And show me your disciplines in life, and I'll show you your direction in life. So if
That's
you
right.
are not, so I need to be building out these disciplines that put me in a position where I say, okay, God, I'm here before you right now. And it's, as a precursor to your question, I built out a habit of tithing my day. It's something I started like 15 years ago. And the tithe my day is, if I'm going to love my God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, then that means those 4 quadrants get my devotion to God. So in the morning, and I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to tithe my devotion, then that means if I get 24 hours in a day, my lead pastor gets 24 hours in a day, the president gets 24. I mean, all the leaders, high-level leaders, and everybody else gets 24 hours in a day. That means 10% is 2.4 hours in a day. So I've laid myself kind of down before the Lord and said, all right, God, I'm going to heart and soul pray and read the Bible. Mind is getting in a leadership book or podcast or something like that of somebody that can fuel me and see it from a different perspective of a leadership person that I trust. And strength is just going to the gym. So, and working out or doing a walk or something like that. So I've done 2.4, it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes about is kind of what I gear that towards. And so every morning I'm just like, I'm pretty good at it. There's times we're not always there because you're busy doing maybe once in a while other stuff, but I'm usually in my green chair at my desk. I've got my coffee going. I am there and I'm like, all right, Lord, we are on a journey. I need you to speak to me. And I get in that alignment. If I can get in that alignment of heart, soul, mind, and strength, and I tie that, I'm not freaking out about the day. I'm not like saying like, where'd my time go? I feel like I've got time. I'm coming in ready so that when I show up, I've been ministered to by the Lord. I've been spoken to by God through his word. I have been filled up with worship through worship and song. I've gotten some wisdom from people who are doing it better, going farther, who are ahead of me in books and podcasts. And so I usually start with that first before I even get to some of these tools. And of the tools, and now I'll talk about the tools. So I think that's the most important. Anybody can do that. We all have the best tool right in front of us: Scripture, prayer, the Holy Spirit speaking to us, renewing our mind, telling us who we're not, and telling us who we are. Those are the best moments that we can grab. And so then from that, when I'm meeting my team and I'm counseling my team, and we had a team, we just had our review of our team, and man, we are one of my Pastor Rob was like, you've got the best team. It's the healthiest team. They're strongest. And I'm like, well, what are we doing that's right? And I think one of the things that I love that we've really implemented in that praise was, number one, I love Strength Finders. That to me is one of my favorite ones because Strength Finders, I just love it. It gives you a simple handful of words to look from. It talks about the core person of who you are. I call that, some of your strengths of what you're showing up with, your superpowers of what you bring to the table. I will use those all the time. We do a team on it. We post them. We hit on that. That's really good. Those things are great. And I do, each year we'll go ahead and do that. We will touch base. We'll revisit. Are we putting our strengths to the test or are we not? And that's one of the big things that I think is, we don't want to grow our weaknesses. We want to manage our weaknesses and continue to grow in our strengths. And so that's one tool I use. And then the other one that I've been using is Working Genius. We've just used that with Patrick Lencioni. That's a hot one right now, but it is really good. And that's 80% productivity tool, 20% personality. And that's all about how do you work together as a team to flow and move things forward in order to get work done and enjoy the work you're doing. And so those two have been two tools that I've really, really enjoyed, that I really love.
Very good.
It's from those things that I realized, like I give my whole team a quick reference guide of like when I'm meeting with them, I just go to my Apple phone, swipe over, find theirs, and I'm like, oh, these are their strengths. Are they using these strengths? I'm looking at their quick reference guide of those things. I've got an Apple note on everybody of where they're at. So then I can pull the best out of them. Every leader that should have a quick reference guide for their team where they can go in and say, how can I pull out the best of them? I need to be reminded. I have a team of 12. I'm at a church of 14 locations where there's, 200 to 300 employees. I'm in charge of my 12. I want my 12 on my team to know exactly who they are, what they're about, and I celebrate those gifts like crazy. But when we have one-on-ones, that's one of the first places I go, is I'm hitting that pretty regularly to make sure that I'm speaking their language, and fueling them up. You talk about a leadership engine. Well, everybody has a fuel tank. What's the fuel? I know we got love languages, we got those other things, but also in the workspace and church space, what's the fuel that gets them moving forward in a great way is the question.
Yeah. One of the things I love about leading second is it's expanded my world, and it's put me in rooms and it's put me in conversations that I otherwise wouldn't be able to be in. So it's introduced me to people who are doing it better than I am, doing it at another level than I am. And one of the things that I've learned recently is that when I talk to those people, all of them, including yourself, you're leveraging these types of tools and these types of resources. And I don't think it's coincidence that the teams and the leaders that are doing it better are utilizing these tools and resources. So I was recently introduced to 6 types of Working Genius. And when I started to read it and understand its application within the context of teams, I'm like, man, I wish I had this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I guess my question for you is there a tipping point as a team that you get to where it's time to implement these things, or is it earlier the better?
I always say, when I show up on a team, especially if it's newer or if I have a new person, I give it to them right away. I start with 100% trust in the account for me. My style is you start with $100. If you screw up, we'll start taking it out. Versus other leaders are like, you got to earn it with me. Like it's zero and everything. Then you start adding to it. So for me, and I have positivity in my strengths. So I want to come in out the gate, bring in glass half full kind of energy into the room. So I usually will give it to them first. And then I will have I call them a heart to heart. So when I get a new employee coming in, or if I'm meeting somebody and I want to know who they are, I'll give them a task. I'll be like, hey, then let's have a heart to heart. I want to hear about not only your story, but hey, it seems like you really like, does this language match what you love? And I kind of read from the test a little bit and they go, yeah, it's a great way for them to feel seen and heard. And they resonate with that. Even Erwin McManus's 7 Frequencies, we just did that as a team, which is a really good one as well from Mosaic Church in LA, Erwin McManus. And that was another one where we're finding common language of different things that we can use to be able to affirm and confirm why are they frustrated and what is their genius. And so I will come straight out the gate and do it almost always, or sooner than later for sure.
Let's go back to the idea of the quick reference guide. So I would love if our tribe understood this concept really well. I would love if our tribe understood that people are a kingdom resource we are stewarding. I think that is a really big, I think we are guilty sometimes of using people to accomplish our goals, using people to rather than stewarding them as a life that has been entrusted to us in our care. Now, I don't mean to create what my pastor would call a dumb dichotomy. Yes, people will contribute to the mission of the vision. Yes, we will use people, the good version of it. We will use them effectively in ministry. I think all that is fine and good. But I think sometimes, maybe just love to hear your comments on this. I think we fail to really polish up and see the diamond of each person that's sitting in front of us, that's entrusted to us. That kingdom resource may only be in your life for a season. They may only be a part of your team for a season. They may only be part of your church for a season. But while they're there, did you steward their life well? Did you steward and did you pull out of them what God had placed in them, even if it includes them going out and doing something else in the future? Did you develop? Because if people are like a resource, we think of the parable of the talents, the ones that were called faithful were the ones that multiplied the resource. So could we apply that to people? And are we seeing people as the kingdom resource that they are, that God has entrusted to us to develop? Does that make sense to you? I feel like we need to grab onto that concept more and not just use people to accomplish tasks.
Yeah, 100%. Because when people are like, you think of, you mentioned this, the parable of the talents, or good stewardship, and it's like the one that just buries it in the ground, the one that doesn't harness the potential, the one that just sits there. That's the one. The guy that did that is the one that was like rebuked by God, so to speak, or like Jesus was frustrated at. And it's
right.
So I don't want to just let a dormant person with dormant potential just kind of sit there and not become the person that God wants them to be. Because I believe, we're all called to something. We're all called to something. When I'm meeting with somebody in my church and who is, a lawyer who is like, what am I called to do versus my staff and my team? It's like, I'm all about, let's look at the gifts in 1 Corinthians 12 and in Romans 12. Let's start there. Let's be like, which of these, you can even ask a simple thing of like, which of these resonate with you? What's the difference between a word of wisdom and a word of knowledge? We should know these things. And we can say, oh, have you ever experienced this before? Like, yes, we're like, okay, well, that could be yours. Does that resonate with you? Yes. Then you start speaking there, talking to them about that and repositioning those people into those places. Otherwise, if we're not doing that, then we have this responsibility of saying, man, we've allowed a person to remain dormant. And I don't want to, it's like, why would you allow a perfectly good sports car to be like, it's like on display in a garage, but never turned on and never like floored and maxed out and just out there doing like, what's the horsepower? Like we've never seen it perform, So I think I'm 100% with you on that. And so the stewardship and the value of the responsibility, even when you see Jesus, he looks at Peter and he says, oh, you're a fisherman of people, but I'm going to make you a fisher of men. So you've got Jesus saying, oh, there's more in you. You think you're just a fisherman, but there's more in you. And so can we prophetically see what God is calling people? Are we praying for seated? Are we discerning going, there's more in you? You think you're just that, but you actually are this. And, and you contrast that with David putting on Saul's armor, where it's like David coming in saying like, here, then just be this person. I need just to be this. Well, that's the opposite too of saying, I don't want to be Saul. I'm not putting on Saul's armor. I'm comfortable in a slingshot. But Saul didn't think to ask the question of, David, tell me a little bit about your story. Oh, you battled bears and lions? Oh, and surely you can take the Philistine? Well, what did you use? Oh, a slingshot? You're comfortable carrying a slingshot and 5 stones than you are wearing the armor and a giant heavy blade and all this other stuff of what you have. Oh, well, yes, by all means, go out. That could have saved, like those are the moments we've got to discern as well in harnessing potential and calling out the greatness in people.
Alan, this is great because I think when you talk to leaders, sometimes you almost get this story of like they're waiting for the right person to show up. And it sounds like what you're saying is you're going to have to go and find them.
Yeah, like you're going to order a good team on Amazon and they're coming in 2 days.
Show up and knock on your front door. Like, hey, I'm the one you're looking for. Like, no, some of those, it sounds like you're milling a little bit. Like, hey, let me talk to this guy. The way he was worshiping in worship, the way he was engaging with people in the lobby, like there's something about this guy. I'm going to go engage with this individual. So talk to me about your approach when it comes to identifying and recruiting high capacity volunteers, high capacity volunteer leaders at your church. Because I guess I would say many of those that are listening to the Leading Second podcast, we're leading volunteers, and a lot of our churches are made up by volunteers. So maybe you could help us understand, how do I go find the right person, and what's your approach?
Oh, yeah. I do equip the saints for the work of the ministry. I tell my team here, I'm like, if you're doing all the work, I said, there's the first problem. And I said, I've never been burned out, depleted, defeated. I have team members that have been. And I said, the problem is you're doing everything. I said, so one of the things that, we built out these things called leadership tables. We call them leadership tables. And it's just our campus doing it. Like, it's not even a Valley thing. It's kind of my understanding of it. I said, who would you invite at the leadership table for your particular thing? So for example, I'm over men's ministry at my campus. Okay. So I'm looking at saying, I've got a giant table that could perhaps seat 12 people at it. I'm in charge of men's ministry. I need to now find out, I want to fill this table up with people. So I'm having conversations with people. Now I'm having conversations knowing I've got a table with 11 seats at it, plus myself, let's say. I want to fill this table up with people and different things. It's like David and the mighty men. David will go out and find the mighty men. If we're talking men's ministry, that's always a great illustration to use. Who are the mighty men that they're gonna be with me? So I will go out and I will have conversations, and I'm listening. And first of all, God might speak to me about potential in them. I got a guy named Steve. I talked to Steve, and he's like, I realized Steve has, he's a doctor, and he has a passion for, he wants to work with, he's got a passion for, like, I want men to be great men of character and be pure and in character. And I said, great, that's awesome. I like that energy. I'm gonna meet with him, and eventually, after a couple of times, I'm gonna end up saying, I want that at the table. That's great. I have another guy who is outdoors hunter dude, and I'm like, there are guys in my church that are outdoor hunter dudes that I'm not as much. I'm coffee shop for days and hanging out and spending time in the city doing my thing. But I know that there are guys in my church that are like that. They've got hunting cabins and they do that. So I'm hearing him and I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. I'm asking questions. I'm meeting with them, and I'm listening for, I'm listening for, what is their own story? Do they know God's story? Do they have, are they bought into my church? I'm listening for all those things. I'm listening for all that kind of material. I'm like, that's great. And then I'll sit them down. Now I've got up to, I've done that for a bunch of different guys. I mean, not everybody gets that, but when they do, I'm like, oh, you compliment me that I don't have that gift or that talent or that understanding or that passion. And I'm like, oh, but some of you guys do have some of that, and we can work together on that. I've got 16 dudes at this table now for my leadership table. They're running the men's clubs. They're running all the stuff. We just meet 3 times a year, and I encourage them. And I'm saying to you, when you can find those people, look for that potential in them of what's their story, what's their gift, what's their talent, and let the Holy Spirit discern it and say, man,
so good.
That can complement. Sit at the table with me.
Yeah.
Let's build the kingdom.
I love it. Who's at your leadership table and knowing your team's wiring. This has been really rich today, Alan. I received this, and we could talk for a long time, but alas, that's what future episodes are for. But I thank you for being a student in this area, and thank you for challenging us. I think I'm walking away today with a new challenge to steward the kingdom resource on our teams. And I think for someone listening today, the one you're looking for could be the one that God is asking you to develop, not just the one you're asking God to send you, but who's sitting right in front of you that could be at your leadership table. So receive this today. Let me ask you one last question to land the plane. I have to say land the plane at the end of everything. It's like a compulsory, that's why I get made fun of on Zoom calls, and I do it here too. But to land the plane question here, what would you say? What would you speak right into the heart of the leader who feels discouraged when it comes to developing their team right now? They've tried. They feel like no one wants to. They feel like, where's the next one going to come from? What would you say to that leader to encourage them today?
If they're discouraged, and you're asking, are there people or people to this podcast who are like, I'm discouraged, I'm trying to find people.
That's right. That's right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I would say that's a great question. To those that are discouraged, I would go into it understanding I think I'd have to go in, first of all, get a different set of eyes on the perspective. I got to see people the way Jesus sees them. I think would be the first thing. Is they might not be what I thought, or they may not hurt. So I want to see them the way God sees them first. Like, God, you got to show me the value add that they're bringing into this. You've called them to my church. You've called them to my kingdom. I need to see with your eyes. I need to get the perspective of how you're seeing that. Where's the value that they have in the people that are around me? And then I think, so that'd be the first thing I would do. I think the second thing I would do is I would go in, I would take a look at myself, and I would look at myself and say, what's the one thing I do that doesn't drain me? It's an energy filler. And I would make a list for myself of what's the one thing I do really well, then what's another thing I do really well, and make a list of the top 3 things that I do really well that don't drain me. They're not energy neutral, they're not energy draining. They give me life. What are the things that do that give me life? And I would revisit those things and then reassess that and really throw myself into those top 3 things. Because when I'm performing at peak performance and I'm performing the way God wired me and I'm doing that stuff, there's going to be an attraction that people are going to be drawn to that. So instead of begging for people to come to me, they're going to see that in me, and it's going to be like a magnet, and it's going to draw them in, I think.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you today for your wisdom. Thank you for lending us your experience. Thank you for nearly 3 decades faithful in ministry and in the second chair. We honor you today, and come back soon. Come talk to us. This has been encouraging.
The honor too. Thank you guys. Thanks for the great work at Leading Second. Well done. Keep up the great work. We're all listening to it. We're better because of it. I want to say thank you guys for doing such a great job. Love it.
Yeah. Bless you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is our honor to serve churches and leaders across the globe. We equip ministry leaders with the coaching, events, and resources needed to embrace their calling, get it right with their pastor, and lead in an uncommon way. Visit our website, leadingsecond.com, to learn how we can come alongside you as you lead from the middle. From the second chair, for the second chair.